comedy. We're going to be doing a bunch of shows this weekend. We also play a lot of laser tags. This battle is dirty video game lies. Basically, you as a gamer are told lies constantly. And I'm not talking about like plot twist. Like I'm not talking about being told that Sheik is a guy and you find him attractive and you question everything about yourself and then you find out it's Zelda and then everything's okay. That's not the type of lie we're talking about. We're talking about when you as the gamer are personally lied to either by game companies or other fans or crap like that. So we're going to debunk some lies for you guys right here tonight. Let's get started with the biggest lie in gaming. Cake. This is the big lie. And this is one of the weird things about gaming is we're told up front the cake is a lie by the video game. But then the internet gets a hold of it and they're like, you know what? I bet there actually is cake in this game somewhere. And basically they went to Valve. They're like, Valve, is there cake in the game? And Valve was like, no, there's no cake in the game. They're like, there must be cake. They're lying to us. So the clues that there were actually cake is, of course, when Gladys dies in Portal. We're talking about Portal. I didn't mention that.
There you go. Cue. Gladys dies?
Yeah, Gladys dies. Yeah, there's going to be some spoilers. We're going to deal with it.
I don't think he said Gladys died. You just yelled it.
When Gladys is defeated, one of her last things she says in the first game is there really was cake. And if you actually look at some of the screens in the game, there are actual ingredients for cake in there. Like 2 packages of chocolate cake mixture, red coconut frosting.
Is shaped apple benzene?
So, yeah, there's also a lot of poison. Also, one of the intelligent nodes that you throw away gives a cake recipe. So people started to believe that there is actually cake in this game. There isn't. There is a way to get to the cake through glitching, but yeah. But it doesn't do anything. You're not supposed to ever get there. So there is no cake in the game. And cake has been alive for years, as you can see. Okay. Dear Mario, please come to the castle. I've baked a cake for you. Bull crap.
No, Bowser ate that cake.
Nah, I choose to believe that it's a lie. So the lie of the cake has existed for years. Another big lie is comes from our friends at Nintendo Power. Back in the day, the internet was called books. And there's these special books called magazines that you can subscribe to, and every month you would get all your information. Nintendo Power lied to us many, many times. The biggest lie they ever gave us is that Star Fox 2 was coming out on the Super Nintendo. They had the box art, they had screenshots from it. They didn't release that it was going to be less of an on-rail shooter and we're going to have more free range to move about. And this game just never came out. It didn't really become Star Fox 64. It just kind of vanished into the nether and then we never saw it again. Another big lie, they had this contest where you could be in the Masked 2. You get to go to the sequel of Masked, you get to be an extra, and you get the game.
Wait, that's a prize?
That was a prize. To be in the Masked 2.
Jamie Kennedy won. That's why he was in it.
I mean, I guess that makes sense. But the Masked 2...
Guys, this was a real movie. I don't know. You're all very young, but we lived in this.
Yeah, the Masked 2 never became a film, and I have no idea what it's called. That's not the Masked 2. Jim Carrey's leg is red. They are heavily implying that he was going to be in the Masked 2.
No, that's him walking away from it.
Nothing to do with this piece of garbage. Not with that kid that won from Nintendo Power. But Nintendo Power is not the only one that lied to us. EGM had some of the most heart-wrenching lies ever told. I made a collage of all the lies here. They said that there was a new code in Extreme Beach Volleyball. They said that there was going to be Mushroom Kingdom Hearts, which broke my heart because that game would have been amazing. They said that you could unlock different actors who played Bond in GoldenEye. They said that a new PSP game called Lord of the Rings Kart was going to come out. That's Gandalf. They also said that there's hidden cameras. Yeah, there's hidden cameras. There's hidden characters in Street Fighter, and the only way to get it was very simple. You had to get to M. Bison completely flawless without blocking. And then when you got to M. Bison, you had to fight him 10 times to a draw. And then you got to see your character in an arcade. So it's not like you were saving it to your memory card or anything like that. It was a bunch of crap, and you can't see it. But this cheat was submitted by WA's Tokens, or Waste Tokens. Now, the big issue, this was of course April Fool's for all of these, and the big issue with this is one game suffered a great loss because of this, and that's this guy right here, Conker. When Conker's Bad Fur Day was announced, originally Conker was going to have a game that was just another platforming game by Rare. They eventually changed it to Conker's Bad Fur Day, and had a lot of swearing and poop jokes in it, and it was going to get an M rating. They announced it for the first time in the April edition of EGM. So everyone read it and was like, oh, this is the April Fool's prank. And then little did they know that this game was actually down the pipeline, and it hurt sales. The big one, though, the biggest lie ever from EGM is, man, this is a terrible picture. But it was that Sonic and Tails were actually in Super Smash Bros. Melee. This is before Brawl, and Sonic actually showed up. And this blew our minds as kids. It's like, oh my god, Sonic versus Mario, it's actually going to happen. And they said the way you did it is you played Cruel Melee and got 20 knockouts, which is impossible. The Cruel Melee were these weird purple pixelated things. People said that it was a reference to PlayStation that I never understood. And it was, you got a trophy if you got 2 knockouts, so to get 20 was ridiculous. And then what was supposed to happen is after knocking out 20, we'd get a new challenger. It would be Sonic and Tails. And then the message that would come up after defeating them is, a dream has been cast. Sonic and Tails joined the melee. This one got an insane amount of complaints. People were losing their minds because they wasted so much time getting there. And when they actually achieved this, it turned out that it was all for nothing. So EGM, as an apology, had to do a contest where if you could record you getting higher than 20 knockouts, they'd give you a prize. And they said, most of you are impressive. A lot of you are Jigglypuff cheating jerks. but they actually had to give away prizes. Now, EGM, though, did get their comeuppance eventually. And that's what this meant. The GTA Yeti. In San Andreas, it is rumored that somewhere, Bigfoot was wandering around the woods. Now, this came about because if you read the special thanks for that game, Bigfoot was included. You're like, oh, this must mean that Bigfoot's in the game. So the people at EGM did the thing that the people who played Portal did. And they were like, hey, Rockstar, is Bigfoot in that game? And Rockstar said, no, Bigfoot's not in that game. And EGM said, they're lying! Bigfoot must be in this game. And they had a contest. If you could get footage of Bigfoot, we will give you a prize. And they were sent this picture. No, the next picture. They were sent this picture of a Yeti standing on the side of the road here. And they said, finally, we have proof that there is a Yeti in San Andreas. And they sent the game of the month to the person who sent in this picture. And then next month, somebody said, hey, I found the picture of that Yeti that was photoshopped into that. They totally lied to you. Like, well, we already gave the game out. Oops, our bad. In truth, they actually had a lot of fun with this. When Red Dead Redemption came out, they actually did include Sasquatches. And you go around murdering them until there is one left. And it just cries and says, kill me, you've killed all of my people. I don't want to live anymore. And then when you kill him, you get an achievement that says 7 years in the making, referring back to the San Andreas myth. They also included him in Grand Theft Auto 5, but it's a guy in a costume, and we're supposed to understand what pleasures him. That was his argument in this game. Moving on. Yeah. Let's talk about Pokemon. Pokemon has some of the biggest myths of all time. I know that when I was a young lad on the internet, I was told a number of insane lies. I was told that if you went into a dungeon for 24 hours, you would get Poke Gods. I don't know what that is.
Those are the later games, though.
Yeah, well, I mean, this is back red, blue days. But the biggest one was this truck. Now, this is the SSN, and what's interesting about this is the only way to get to that truck is to use surf to get across the water. Unfortunately, you don't have a Pokemon that has surf at this point in the game. And after you complete the SSN, you can't get back to this area. So the only way to do it is through trading. So people said, you use surf, you find this truck, and then you either use strength to move it, or you use cut to slash the tires. And then underneath you'll find this guy. A Mew! It's crap. What added to this myth is the fact that that truck is there. And no one knows why. It's just a really cool truck. But there is no Mew underneath it.
That sweet truck.
Yeah, I'm looking at it, yeah. It did turn out that there is a way to get Mew, and it is too confusing for me to explain in this panel. It involves naming your character a certain thing and cheating to get it. It's good. It's all right. John will explain it to you later. I'm sure you know, right? You explain race. Another big myth is this one. This is a less known one. The variety trainer made win and evolve. This was mind-blowing to me when I was first playing this game. You traded a Raichu, I forget what you got in return. Lickitung? No? Farfetch'd?
No.
No? Sorry. Okay. And this is the reply that you get, that the Raichu tried to win to evolve. Of course, there's no evolved version of the Raichu. So everyone started training the Raichu, just feeding him rare candies and just hoping that something magical would happen. Because at the time, in America, when the anime was airing, we knew about this guy. Miracle. This is the first second-gen Pokemon that we see in the show, other than Ho-Oh, but I'm not getting into that. But originally, we thought the name of this Pokemon was Peekaboo. It's not, but they thought maybe this is what Raichu would evolve into. It turns out it's just a bad translation, and they never fixed it, and it led to all this confusion. And now I'm talking to you about it. And then the other big lie, the one that there are people in this room that still believe, is this.
Yes! You can't prove it doesn't work.
It doesn't work!
Yeah, it's the Schrodinger's Pokemon.
It
didn't work for you, you didn't do it at the right time.
The idea that you press down and B and it makes your Pokemon or your Pokeball stronger by proof. Lies. Do you have proof, John? No. Do I have to remove this slide? Is this true?
No, it's not that.
Are you pulling out? Are you wearing a wire? What is this? Don't let them know about the secret about Devil Baby.
It's been up with you the whole time.
You've been compromised. Eat the pill. We're gonna move on.
I like that there's people whispering, like, what the hell is down B? Which you didn't explain.
Down B, I tried to explain it, but we're busy giggling. But the idea is when you throw the Pokeball, if you at the perfect time press down and B, it makes your Pokeball stronger.
No, it works.
And you have a better chance of catching the Pokemon. The issue is,
if you catch the Pokemon, people go, oh, it must have worked. And then if you don't catch the Pokemon, they go, I didn't do it right.
It's a little like religion, but...
You gotta believe. Moving on from Pokemon.
This is the heartbreaking lie that we all told ourselves because we couldn't handle what happened in this video game. This is, of course, from Final Fantasy VII. And everyone believed that there was a way to save Eris after being stabbed horribly by Sephiroth. Eris...
The other lie.
No, I'm getting to that. Trust me. Now, there's a lot of theories about this already. I know that Matt Pat did a whole theory that, hey, if you're dead, you float. And Cloud put her in the water, she sunk to the bottom. Cloud drowned her. That's really what happened. But she's still dead, and that's the point that I'm trying to get across here. One of the reasons that people believed that there was a way to save her is when you go into the crater at the end of the game, there's a part where all the characters kind of get out and talk to each other about how they're preparing for the final battle. There's one area where there's this rock that looks like there's a character, like a spot for a character to stand, but it's empty. And people looked at it and were like, oh, this must mean there's a way to resurrect her and she'll stand there. Or, you know, it's visual storytelling, pointing out the fact that one of your characters died. No! It can't possibly mean that. There's so many lies about this, like maxing out your Phoenix Downs and using them all at that moment, maxing out your revive. I also heard that there's a crack somewhere with the submarine, that if you find this crack, it's a half-hour journey.
And you find her body.
And then you find her, and then she's just like, ah, you found me, let me get in the submarine. And that's it. But no. Now, another reason that this became a myth of sorts is that the name changed. In the Japanese version, it was Aerith, and then it became Eris. Now, when asked why the name changed, the creator said they wanted her name to be an anagram. Now, if you mix those letters up, you get rise, as if from the dead. That makes a lot of sense. But the creator said, no, 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 we wanted it to be an anagram of Earth. Which is a fun idea. But no. But that was their actual statement on the name changes. They wanted it to be an anagram of Earth, and they just screwed the pooch. Moving on. Mortal Kombat. This guy right here. This is Enoch. Mortal Kombat actually is one of the best games known for listening to their fans. There was a screen that you could reach. It was kind of like the debug mode. That at the bottom, it would say Enoch. Now, the first Mortal Kombat game was one of the first games to have a secret character, that being Reptile. And if you guys didn't play Mortal Kombat in the arcades, basically, I'm not surprised. But basically, there's a chance that every time you would fight, that Reptile would come down, leave some weird clue, and then fly away. And what you end up having to do, excuse me if this isn't exact, you have to get a double flawless victory at the pit without blocking and do a fatality while Santa Claus is flying across the moon.
Sounds right.
If you can pull all that off, Reptile will jump down and be like, now you have to fight me. And then you beat Reptile and he goes, ah, you beat me. And the game continues and never references him again. So we created this mystery where, like, it was something that was very hard to recreate, to have happen. And when kids at school would say that it was happening, no one believed them. But then when it slowly but surely came out that this was happening, the idea that there's another character named Enoch, it became more and more possible. Enoch is actually an anagram for an error code mistake, and it was just logging how many of them there are. And in truth, it didn't really mean anything. But since there's so much about Enoch that they've actually added him to the game. Also, when Mortal Kombat 2 came out, they removed the Enoch and put in Kano transformations. Because Kano was not in the game. And the idea was that you could actually transform into him somehow. This is the creators of Mortal Kombat being dicks. Because that doesn't do anything. It was just there so, because people knew that people were getting to the audit page and were looking for like clues like that. And they found this just blatant lie. So this is one of the harshest just lies that a video game has ever done. Moving on. Valley of the Flood. This is a painful one. This is the Legend of Zelda video game that takes place in the future. Look at the opponent. It's a motorcycle. That's smart. But the reason that this actually caught on as a possible real video game, it's not, don't get excited, is one, there was actually all this great art that came out for it. And the original Legend of Zelda was actually supposed to have a time travel element. The original Legend of Zelda for the NES was actually supposed to take place in the past and in the future.
So like the Ultimate series?
Similar to that, but there's actual, I couldn't dig it up, but they had like the original like artistry of what the future in the game was going to look like. Like they were actually going to have this mechanic, but it was too big for NES technology and they weren't able to figure it out. It's weird to think that, like, if you look at Legend of Zelda for the NES, that that's only half the game. But originally, that was just half the game. The rest of it was supposed to take place in a futuristic setting. So the idea that a Legend of Zelda game would actually take place in the future is not that far-fetched. But unfortunately, this is not a real game, as much as I'd love to play over and over again. I don't know time. I feel like I'm racing through this.
Wind Waker is in the future.
I mean, yeah, there's Link to the Past. There's like time travel is a very common thing in the Legend of Zelda universe. But unfortunately,
When they can jump on this when steampunk was huge.
yeah. Or just put out Zelda games in a timely fashion. That would be a great thing for Nintendo to do. Line number 9. Hero Brine. This is Minecraft, and basically Hero Brine comes from a creepypasta, which I could probably do a panel on that. I should probably put that together, because creepypastas has ruined so many of my favorite franchises. But it was the idea that there was a character similar to the character played as Steve, that had these weird glowing eyes that would haunt you at night. So not only did you have to worry about creepers, there's also this guy running around. The story also goes that Notch had a brother, that's the creator of Minecraft. Notch had a brother who died, and he created Minecraft for his brother. And then his brother, from the afterlife, really wanted to play. So he ended up in the game as Hero Brine. Now, Notch got wind of all of these things, and he actually started doing this. Whenever there's an update to Minecraft and lists all the things that he did, it always includes removed Hero Brine. Hero Brine, of course, was never in the game, but it was kind of his way of trying to get people to shut up about it. But once again, we were like, oh, this must be the added Hero Brine. Hero Brine, of course, does not actually appear. And that's going to bring us, hold on. I had too much garlic sauce on my pizza. All right. To lie number 10.
Nothing.
Mario is a hero. He's not, he's a joke. Mario is believed to be one of the greatest video game heroes of all time. He is not. If you don't believe me, I have the rest of the PowerPoint to prove it to you. Mario's first game was not Super Mario Brothers. He appeared first in Donkey Kong. Now, the first person he's ever tried to... oh, thank you. Everyone sit quietly while I get more.
Jump.
Quietly. Originally he was Jumpman, and then they eventually changed the name to Mario because Mario was originally the Nintendo gem. But in any case, the first person he ever tried to save is probably up here at the top. But this is the actual end of Donkey Kong. Now hit the button. There you go. He just dies. If you play Donkey Kong to its end, eventually there's just no more space in the I don't want to say disc, the circuitry of the cabinet that he gets to a kill screen and he just dies. Which means he never successfully saved her. Have you ever seen her again? I know she shows up once in something else, but no, you never see her again. So that's his first failure. And then Mario comes back, and what does Mario do in the second game?
Slaves Donkey Kong.
He enslaves Donkey Kong. He's got a whip, and he enslaves other birds to murder his child. He's not a good man. Granted, Donkey Kong killed his girlfriend based off of that. But he's not a good man. This is too far. Then, as we go further in time, we get to Super Mario Brothers, and he saves the princess from such terrifying creatures as a turtle and a fish and this thing. It's supposed to be an Italian game because it's a Goomba.
It's a Goomba.
Yeah. But in reality, when you play those games, there is not a character that openly attacks Mario until level 4-1, which is the guy whose names I can't pronounce in the cloud. Lucky Toots. Which, we don't know if he's attacking. That might just be him throwing garbage at him and stuff like that. Yeah, if that's true, it's not till the Hammer Brothers that he actually has someone that's physically attacking him, other than Bowser or King Koopa at the castles, which he did enter that dude's home. This is actually from the instruction manual of Super Mario Bros., the original Super Mario Bros. Then one day, dark day, a tribe of evil turtles named Koopa, led by the tranquil King Bowser, invaded. Blah, 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 blah. That's that part's not important. They were easily defeated by the turtle tribe, and horribly, Bowser's black magic turned all the mushroom people into stones, bricks, and even horsehair plants. So these are people. So every time you see Mario break bricks in the game, he is murdering someone.
50 points.
Yeah, and then he mocks them. Which is another interesting thing. This is the Mushroom Kingdom. And what makes Mario big is a mushroom. But the people are mushrooms. Why do you think the mushroom runs away when Mario shows up? Moving on. Speaking of mushrooms, we do see him eat a lot of mushrooms. Which, of course, leads to lots of jokes that this whole thing is just a bad mushroom trip hallucination. Which I know is fun and silly, but there's some legs to this. Mario is supposed to be a plumber. I've never seen him plumb, but he's supposed to be a plumber. Now, if he's eating these mushrooms and he's seeing things the way that they should be, what should he actually be seeing? Well, he's probably a plumber who's on a job who needs to fix some plumbing. And what is the last level? 8-4. It's a castle full of water. Is this the house that Mario was supposed to save? I say it's quite possible. Now, if you look at his other games, Mario 2.
Which Mario 10?
Yeah, well, first off, yeah.
The real Mario 2 guys.
Yeah. This is Toki Toki Panic that they reskinned. Because screw those guys, Mario needs a game. This one, first off, Mario's not the only one that does the heavy lifting. And a matter of fact, anyone who's ever played this game, nobody ever plays as Mario. You got Princess, who can basically fly. You got Luigi, who can jump really high. You got Toad, who's cool. So no one's going to use Mario. And even if you do succeed, and what's his name, Wart? Yeah, you defeat Wart, you're rewarded with this. It was all a dream. Mario cannot be given credit for any of the things that happened in Mario 2 because they didn't happen. It was all a dream. What about Mario 3? Mario 3 opens with a curtain coming up. This is not a real happening. This is a play. You can tell this because look, you have the mountains here are actually casting a shadow across the backdrop. Also, if you look here at the platforms, they're oddly screwed in to the back of the stage. Mario 3 didn't happen either. It's all just a play. So we have Mario failing in Donkey Kong, enslaving someone and being the villain in Donkey Kong Jr. He then goes on to murder many Toad people in the first game, dreams the second one, puts a play on for the third
Wait,
one.
that's from Super, isn't it?
No,
What?
this is 3.
No, that's the Super Nintendo remake.
Oh.
Yeah.
Not with that item thing up there. This is like Super Mario crossover or some shit.
Yeah, no.
No, you bring a real good point. I don't know what that's going on. What is this Fox doing here? I've been doing this panel for years.
Right, this is some shitty Flash game of Newgrounds.
This whole series falling apart now.
It did not have that item box up top center. It did not.
No, it absolutely did not. That's a really good catch.
And
Let's also just go.
This might be Super NES. No, it's not.
But also, at the end of every level in Mario Brothers 3, you run off into a blacked out area.
I think I
which
see a
is
soft
the
media
waves.
watermark in the back. Yeah, it's a watermark.
Yeah. I didn't make this picture. Got it off the internet.
This is Photoshop.
Mario 3 was photoshopped. He didn't do anything.
Right. Let's jump into Super Mario World. Now, Super Mario World is where he goes to Dinosaur Land to defeat that evil King Bowser. Which brings up a really good point. The person he is saving is a princess. He is saving her from a king who is a higher ranking official in a monarchy. I also noticed that Princess Peach has one castle, and Bowser usually has at least 8. So I kind of feel like Mario might be the one invading his land. But to be fair, when you save Yoshi, this is where Yoshi makes his debut. Yoshi does thank Mario for freeing him. So that's a kind of thing. But then this happens. Zoom in on it. No, that's back.
You were talking to the gift.
He is punching Yoshi in the back of the head. That is why Yoshi sticks his tongue out as he's getting clubbed by Mario. Who will eventually just jump into a pit so he can get an extra jump. He is a bad man. And if Bowser was such a threat, why does he go go-karting with him so much? Go-karting, tennis, golf. He's friends with Bowser. He is not, he's not really invited to the parties, but
He crashes the parties.
he crashes the parties, it's true. He's not a good man. He associates with evil people. He's a monster.
This looks Photoshop.
I don't know, that looks
Is that from Mario 64 DS opening screen?
I thought that was one of those mystery powers that would like get through the clouds.
Right, you get to World 5 and Mario 3 free without taking any damage, you get Vampire Mario.
Well, we ended super early. That is the end of this presentation. So we're back on schedule. Yeah, so it says the end. Do you guys have any questions about what you've seen so far? And by that, I mean the joke.
Maybe Stump can explain about down B. It's real.
If you do it right, you automatically catch it.
Is down B real? You're the expert on this. It is not real? I didn't think so.
It wouldn't
It doesn't exist. I have an expert.
You can.
There's no key press spots in that section. No, you have to hit the power button to do it.
So guys, thank you so much for coming out. We are going to be doing 2 shows tomorrow. We are going to be doing stand-up comedy at 5?
6.
6?
Yeah, sometime.
That's what I remember.
6? Really?
Sometime.
If you want to move it, just.
Talk to Emily. Whenever, anytime.
Right now you're scheduled for 5 to 6, but we can talk about
Okay, 5. Yeah, 5 to 6. That makes sense.
You're both right.
From 5 to 6, we will be doing stand-up comedy. That's in the theater. And then the raffles after that.
Yeah.
So be there for the show and then win stuff. It's important. Then at midnight, we are doing Beyond the Tentacle, a look at Japanese fetishes. It is an 18-plus event that promises to have videos and live demonstrations. It's always a good time. If you haven't seen it, it's gotten really wild over the years. And then on Sunday, we will be doing our podcast.
Did you bring your audio gear?
Yes. Just in case I brought all the audio gear. With special guests, someone that has not been. So be sure to come to that. It's going to be a good time. We are Plus 2 Comedy, guys. Thank you so much for coming. We're not doing any more stuff.